Hi, welcome. My name is Sachi, and today I'm going to guide us through a yin yoga practice followed by a short guided meditation. The whole practice I'm hoping will take around an hour. It might go a little faster than that, but aiming for an hour. And for today's class, it'll be nice if you have a yoga block. If you don't have a block, you could always use a stiff pillow or even a thick book would work. And if you don't have any of those, that's okay as well. Also, it'll be nice to have a pillow or a bolster. And as we move through our practice, there are some key guidelines for our yin practice. So the first one is going to be edge. We're going to come to an edge where we feel sensation through the body, but we can still breathe comfortably. Okay, and I'll guide you through that. The second principle is going to be to remain still. So as best as you can, try to stay still while you're in the posture. Now the exception being that as we hold the pose and we watch that sensation might start to shift and you might feel an opening. And in that case, it'll be okay to shift a bit, maybe deepen, or the opposite, you might feel like, ooh, I went a little too far too soon, so you might have to back out a little. So those little adjustments are fine. But for the most part, try to stay still. And then the third principle is going to be time. We're going to spend a good amount of time in these postures, with each posture being around 5 minutes. I don't like to hold for too long, but we will be staying for around 5 minutes in most of the poses. Okay, so I think that's all I want to say. Now's a good time to pause if you want to grab all your props and get yourself nice and comfy. I will meet you on your mat. We are going to start in child's pose, balasana. So coming onto the hands and knees, we'll take two options actually. You can do a wide-legged with the knees wide, big toes to touch, lowering the hips to the heels. And for this option, I love to have a bolster or a pillow in between my legs, and I lay my torso right on that pillow, and you can either grab opposite elbows and rest your forehead here, or you can continue to walk the arms forward, hands out in front of you, and then lowering the forehead down onto the pillow. An alternative would be to have the knees together, feet together, and you could still have that pillow in front of you on the forearms, or you could reach the arms behind you and rest the forehead on a pillow or on a block. And I'm going to go with the wide knees, toes together. So again, we'll find that first edge of sensation, and that'll usually be indicated by where you place your arms and sensation you feel. It could really be anywhere depending on your body. So just tuning into your body and the sensations you feel coming to that first edge. As you start to settle in here, start to tune into your breath. As you breathe in, notice how your body makes space for the air. As you breathe out, following the breath out, noticing how it feels to empty. If it feels okay, you can close your eyes. Try your best to keep your focus and your attention on the sensations that you feel through your body and on your breath. Anytime you notice the mind wander, simply notice. You can even say to yourself, oh, there goes my mind again. And then just gently bringing your focus back to the sensations that you feel and your breath. That will be our anchor to the present moment. The mind tends to take us into the future or into the past, but the body and the breath are always anchored in the here and now. I'm going to stop talking for the last couple of minutes and just give you some space to settle in. And again, you might notice your body starts to feel more open. Maybe you walk the elbows or the hands forward, or you need to back out a little. It can also feel nice to turn onto one cheek. Last few breaths here. Very slowly start to lift your head, and we will take our time here as we come out of the pose. Nice and easy. Remove any props out of your way, and we'll come into a tabletop position with the hands stacked under the shoulders and the knees stacked under the hips. And we'll move through cat-cow here. As you breathe in, tilt your pelvis forward, pull your heart forward, gaze slightly up. And as you breathe out, push the floor away, rounding your spine, bringing the chin to the chest. And we'll do that a few times with the breath. Feel free to add any organic movement. You can rock out your hips or your shoulders. Maybe do some barrel rolls with the rib cage. And that's child's pose is quite intense for the hip flexors. So let's shift the hips forward, heart forward, just for a modified up dog with the knees down. Nothing too crazy, just giving the hip flexors a little love. As long as that feels good, you might turn to one side and the opposite, just to, again, counter the hip flexor. You can even extend one leg, bend the knee, lift the foot. Yeah, that just feels like a nice counter stretch for the hip flexors. All right, from this tabletop position, we're going to head into puppy pose. So for puppy, keep your hips stacked over your knees. Start to walk the hands forward, and we'll start with the right. The right forearm is going to come across, and you'll rest your head on this forearm while you walk this left arm forward. So forehead rests on the forearm, left arm is reaching forward, hand is pressing down, and that left elbow is lifted. Keep the hips stacked over the knees. We'll hold and breathe here. And we're not going to spend too much time in this shape, particularly because we're working with the upper body muscles, smaller muscles than the lower body. We'll slowly start to come out by lifting the head, walking the left hand back, pressing into the right hand. Yeah, just coming out for a moment. You can do a cat-cow. And then we'll switch, taking the left forearm across the ground or the mat to rest the forehead as you walk that right hand forward. Hold and breathe. Last few breaths here. Very slowly start to come out, lifting the head, walking that right hand in, left hand back. We'll come back to tabletop, and again, just a few rounds of cat-cow. All right, come to take a seat, heading into the lower body, Upavishta Konasana. Take a wide-legged situation, stance with the legs, taking the legs out as wide as you can. Reach back and scoop the glute flesh out of the way, coming to sit on the sitting bones. You could also prop up onto your pillow here or the blankets to help with that tilt of the pelvis. And we want to first flex the toes and engage the quad muscles. Okay, tilt the pelvis forward, forward, forward till it stops. Find a concave arc through the lower back. Yeah, and we keep tilting the pelvis until we find that first edge. And then you can continue to walk the hands and find a gentle round through the upper back. Relax the chin to the chest. We hold and breathe. And eventually we allow the legs to soften as we breathe. But there is still that slight engagement of the quads. We hold and breathe and take the seat of the watcher as we observe the sensations in the body and observe the breath as it flows in and out. Try to keep the lips sealed. Now, if the head is low enough and you have a yoga block, you could also rest the head on that block, which can feel nice and supportive. If it doesn't feel good, you can move the block out of the way. From here, very slowly walk the hands back towards the body. From here, we're going to turn to face the right leg. And again, flex the toes, engage the muscles. Okay. Center of the abdomen towards the thigh. Start to walk the hands forward here, any amount, keeping the sit bones rooting, tilting the pelvis, finding again that concave shape through the lower back. The right shoulder blade draws away from the spine. The left shoulder blade draws in towards the spine. Relax the chin to the chest. Hold and breathe here. Keep bringing the focus back to the body, back to the breath again and again. For the last minute, if the body is feeling spacious, option to take that left hand to the outside of the right leg. So now both hands are to the outside of the leg. And then we'll gently bring the hand back if you had taken it to the outside of the leg and walk the hands towards the pelvis. Very slowly over to the left. Turn to face the extended leg. Flex the toes. Tilt your pelvis forward, forward, forward. Finding that concave arc through the low back. And then a gentle round through the upper back. Relax the chin to the chest. Hold and breathe here. With each inhale, inviting in fresh breath, fresh prana or life force into the body. And with each exhale, letting go of any tension that's built up over the course of this past week, this past month, maybe even this past year. So breathing in, bringing in that fresh energy, breathing out, creating space. letting go. Physically, mentally. And for the last minute, again, if you notice there is some space, we can take the right hand to the outside of the leg, holding and breathing here. Working that left shoulder blade away from the spine, right shoulder blade in towards the spine. And then from here, slowly starting to walk the hands back towards the pelvis. We'll take the hands under the knees and very slowly start to bend the knees. Draw the legs in, nice and slow. Feet come towards each other. And actually, before we go into the next pose, let's just extend the legs and gently can bend the knees, pat out the legs, maybe even give yourself a little massage. Wiggle the toes, make some circles with the ankles. All right, Baddha Konasana. Bring the soles of the feet together to touch, about a foot away from the pelvis. Again, scoop the glute flesh out of the way, find the sit bones. And I'm just continuing to stay on my pillow. So feel free to do that, or you can move it out of the way if you don't like it, or maybe you don't have it at all. But it feels good for me, so I'm just gonna keep it under my sitting bones. And then from here, we open up the soles of the feet and start to gently tilt forward until we come to that first edge. Gaze down at the feet. Maybe you start to close the eyes and relax the chin to the chest. Hold and breathe. Noticing all the sensations you feel. the challenge is to really keep the focus on that sensation. And just notice what the habits are, what the tendency of the mind is. Keep gently bringing it back. Back to the sensations. Back to the breath. And then we'll slowly start to walk the hands back towards the pelvis, nice and slow. Take the hands outside the knees and gently draw the knees in together. And from here, we're going to transition onto our back. We'll slide the pillow or the bolster out of the way. And take a block with you. So we're going to lie all the way on the back. Okay, coming into supported bridge pose. So with our block, you can either set it on the lowest setting, the middle setting, second setting, or the highest setting. I recommend probably one of the first two settings, but use your discernment. We're going to lift, so the feet are about hips width distance. Lift your hips and slide that block right under the sacrum. So not the lower back, not the glutes, but center of the hips where your sacrum is and lives. And it should feel, well, you tell me how it feels. For me, this feels nice. We'll take the arms down alongside you. You can wiggle the shoulders together. Yeah. And then we will remain here for the next few minutes. Again, if it feels okay, you can close your eyes. And for me in this pose, I don't feel a ton of sensation. I do where the block is meeting my sacrum, but I find it helpful to just focus on the breathing here. So following the breath as it flows in and out through the nose. With each inhale filling up the rib cage. Each exhale, letting all the air out. So if that's helpful, you can keep your focus on your breath. And when we take these deep breaths, where we're filling up the lower lobes of the lungs, we're utilizing the full capacity of the lungs. There are majority of the oxygen receptors in the lower lobes of the lungs. So helping to oxygenate the blood, which is going to flow to the heart. Final few breaths here. Now, before we come out, I will have you re-engage all of these muscles around the pelvis, the core muscles, and the muscles around the pelvis. So to do that, we're going to press down through the feet and the heels, lift the hips and squeeze the glutes, and then lower and tap the block. We'll do that about 10 times, just to re-engage and integrate all of these muscles. After about 10 times, now you can reach for the block, slide that block, and then one vertebra at a time lower all the way down. From here, Viparita Karani. We're going to extend the legs straight up into the air. Now, if a wall is super close by, feel free to do this up against the wall. And to do that, you would sit with your outer hip against the wall. So we're side. I'm not explaining this great right now, but it's very late where I am. Okay, so you would scooch your outer hip up against your wall and then rotate and turn the glutes to face the wall with the legs up the wall. I'm not going to demo it because I'm comfy right where I am. So feel free to just stay where you are with the legs up in the air for Viparita Karani. That's just an option to have them up against the wall. And so the blood flow in the legs is reversing here, flowing towards the heart. This pose also has a very calming effect on the nervous system. So I like to do it if I ever have trouble sleeping at night. I like to do it up against the wall in bed. But we'll stay here for just a few more rounds of breath. We'll come into a short happy baby. So hands to your shins, take the knees towards the armpits for this modified version. If that feels good, you can stay right here. Or if you want that full happy baby pose, you can reach for outer edges of your feet or maybe inner edges or ankles or shins, backs of thighs, whatever is accessible. And you can stay still, or it might feel nice to rock a little side to side, massaging the back, the spine. You can also straighten one leg at a time. So just a little bit of playful movement before we again start to find that place of stillness. So starting to come out of the pose into Shavasana, where we will rest for just a minute and then head into a meditation. But finding Shavasana first, letting the legs splay out, the arms splay open. If it feels okay, close your eyes. And we'll do a body scan here, starting from the crown of the head, scanning down very slowly towards the fingers, down the torso, just noticing sensations down the legs all the way to the toes. Then bringing the awareness to the place within that feels like your center. That might feel like the heart, or maybe a little lower or a little higher. Finding that place that feels like your center. Resting the awareness there. For just a few moments. And eventually letting go of any focus at all, any effort at all. Simply feeling what it's like to be you. What it's like to exist in this moment. Slowly start to wiggle your fingers and your toes. Gently turn your head side to side. When you're ready, roll over onto your left side, coming into a fetal position. And then as you're ready, pressing yourself up into a comfortable seat. Keeping the gaze soft or the eyes closed. Slide the glute flesh out of the way. Slight tilt of the pelvis forward. Sitting up nice and tall, roll the shoulders onto the back. Imagine a string pulling the crown of the head high to the sky. So we are rooted and grounded through the lower body, but there's a subtle lift through the upper body. Hands can rest on the thighs or knees or in the lap. And start to focus on the breath as it flows in and out through the nostrils. Focusing on that sensation within the nostrils. Noticing the temperature of the air as you breathe in and out. Does it feel cool or warm? And then placing your attention now at the throat, and following the breath as it flows in and out through the throat. Continuing now to move down the spine. So as you breathe in, see if you can follow the breath all the way from the throat down towards the tailbone, down the length of the spine. And as you breathe out, follow the breath up the spine, out through the crown of the head. So we just trace, breathe in, follow the breath down the spine. Breathe out, follow the breath back up the spine, out through the crown of the head. We'll continue to do that. Breathing in and out, following the breath up and down the length of the spine. Just do your best. No need to force. Just as best as you can, with the spirit of kindness, especially if this is unfamiliar or a newer practice. A few more rounds. And then from here, bring your focus into the heart space, or the place that feels like your center. So it might be the heart space or a little lower or a little higher. And do your best to keep your awareness there. Just noticing any sensations, or maybe even subtler. Slowly bring the awareness back to the throat. Notice the breath as it flows in and out of the throat. Bring your awareness to the nostrils, following the breath as it flows in and out through your nostrils. Bring the palms together and start to slowly rub the palms, and picking up the pace a bit, generating some heat between the palms. And then from here, cupping the hands over the eyes. Gently start to blink your eyes open. Move the palms away from the face. We will conclude with a bow. Alrighty, thank you so much for joining me. I'll see you next time.